電車で GO!
The history of trains in Japan dates back to the 19th century, with a demonstration of an Iron Duke steam locomotive by Thomas Blake in Nagasaki. Inspired by the technology, the government of Japan decided that the initial stage would be to build a train line that linked the capital city Tokyo to major port Yokohama. Opening in 1872, the line allowed travel between Shimbashi in Tokyo and what is now Sakuragi-cho in Yokohama in a mere 53 minutes. After a trial opening and practice run between Shinagawa and Yokohama, the line officially opened on October 14th, which has since become a day of celebration across Japan, Tetsudo no Hi. Developing train lines around Tokyo was a priority for pre-war Japan. The Yamanote line, a staple for the Densha de Go series, would open in 1885, initially as the Yokohama line, with a section that ran between Akabane and Shinagawa. The Grand Tokyo Station opened in 1914, and it wasn't until 1925 that the famous Tokyo looping Yamanote line would be completed. Post-war Japan eventually saw a huge economic boom and the entire landmass was crisscrossed with train lines. Private railroads sprang up, monorails appeared, and in 1964, after decades of planning and testing, the Shinkansen arrived, commemorating the 1964 Tokyo Olympics and revolutionizing long-distance travel in Japan. Undercutting domestic flight and faster and more convenient than a car, the Shinkansen became the way to cross Japan. While the West focused on air travel, motorways, and private vehicles, Japanese rail pushed through the development of countrywide high-speed and local train lines, ensuring easy and convenient countrywide travel to anyone and everyone. These days, enjoying the age of steam travel is still possible, but mostly confined to special events and dedicated routes. The Oigawa Railway, as mentioned in the Nagoya video, regularly runs steam locomotives on its Oigawa and Ikawa lines. But we are not interested in the here and now. All we care about is the state of steam locomotion in Japan in early 2000. Kisha de Go, or Let's Go by Steam Train, is an Access developed and Taito published game for the Sony PlayStation. It was released on March 23rd of 2000 and it would be the last game in the Densha de Go series to appear on the original PlayStation, excluding budget re-releases. This one was developed externally by a developer called Access right in the middle of their lifespan. They started out in the early 90s making games for the Super Famicom and PC Engine and kept going right up to 2010 making games for any major platform. Notable developments by Access include Megami and Shin Megami Tensei games, ports of the Wizardry series, and a stack of budget games for D3's Simple series. Their developments for the PlayStation consist of a couple of entries in the River King series of fishing RPGs, an entry in the Wizardry series, and Kisha de Go. As with Densha de Go Professional and Nagoya, Kisha de Go is not a port of an arcade game. It's a standalone entry which, as we've noted before, are usually better than the arcade offerings. While not unique in this respect, it does boast other features. It's the first Dengo game to exclusively feature steam locomotives. It is also the first game to offer a 2-player mode. It's the first game to offer multiple viewpoints. It's the first game to offer an entirely unique control scheme, and has the fewest trains in the series so far. Spoilers, that goes for the rest of the series too. There are a scandalous 3 trains on offer, the C57180, the C58363, and the D51498. The naming convention for steam locomotives is class of train followed by the issue number, so C57180 is the 180th C57 series train built, and so on. The C57-180 was built between 1937 and 1947 as one of the 201 C57 series steam locomotives built overall. The trains were taken out of circulation in 1975, with number 180 restored for active duty in 1999, and to this day it runs regularly between Nitsu in Niigata Prefecture and Aizu Wakamatsu in Fukushima. This is the train that appears on the game's cover. The C-58-363 was built in 1944 as part of a mass-produced train series. 427 C-58s were built, and C-58-363, much like the C-57-180, is still going today. These days, the locomotion can be found running the Chichibu Railway as the Paleo Express tourist route. In 1940, the D-51-498 rolled off the production line. This truly was a mass-produced train series with over 1,000 trains assembled and put into use. These are stalwart workhorses for Japanese rail. This one had its difficulties over the years, but is just about running for JR East in the Takasaki area of Gunma Prefecture, where it is also used to educate future steam locomotive operators. For the 3 locomotives there are 4 routes to run: the series staple Kahin Tohoku line, the Shinetsu Main Line, and the Banetsu West Line. The Banetsu West Line appears as 2 routes, between Nitsu and Tsugawa, and then Koriyama to Aizu Wakamatsu. It's a bit cheeky that one bifurcated line is counted as 2 distinct routes, but it looks good in promotional materials, I suppose. The routes are labelled as SL for steam locomotive, Banetsu Monogatari, Banetsu being the line and Monogatari meaning story or legend, and Banzai Aizu road train. The Shinetsu main line runs from Takasaki and Karuizawa in-game on a route called Rapid Steam Locomotive Usui. It's quite interesting to see the connections between rail lines featured in Dengo. For example, the Hokuhoku line featured in Denshi to Go 2 connects to the Shinetsu line at Saigata, the first stop in that run. If you have seen any of the other videos in this series, the Kahin Tohoku line will need no introduction. It's a line connecting Omiya in Saitama, Tokyo in Tokyo, and Yokohama in Kanagawa. Steam trains do not appear on the Kahin Tohoku. In fact, they never have. Since its debut in 1914, it has always been an electrified line. But for rail fans, the notion of a classic steam locomotive passing through Tokyo is incredibly appealing. And since Taito had the assets already, it serves the dual purpose of reducing development costs by 25%, while also allowing rail fans to indulge in some fantasy train driving. In-game, as with any instance of Kahin Tohoku in a Denshi to Go game, the track runs from Shinagawa to Ueno. I have to admit, this is a pretty cool idea. The juxtaposition of the golden age of steam and turn of the millennium steel, glass and neon Tokyo is a lot of fun. These routes are seasonal, as stated in the manual, with springtime runs on the Kahin Tohoku line bearing cherry blossoms, summer runs on the Bandai Aizu with glorious sunshine or rain, autumn with falling leaves, or possibly chicken nuggets, replacing the blossom on the rapid SL route, and winter with snow and the inability to stop a locomotive on the Banetsu Monogatari. Trains and tracks sorted, let's jump into the game. As seems to be the style now, the Taito logo is brought on by a variety of different trains. This is a nice touch. And we are straight into an FMV introduction. I'll just pause this here. Can you spot the error? Yep, it's the superfluous apostrophe. This is one of a couple of glaring English translations. Continuing on, can you identify the other glaring issue with this video? I'll play a little bit more. We go on running to the future so that everybody may get the thrill. That's right, rail fans, this is the worst music to appear in a Denshi to Go game. Drab, nonsensical lyrics, not evocative of the subject matter. Who would try mixing dance, rap and steam locomotion? Well, apparently Zuntata, the in-house band for Taito. Usually, they do really well with a catchy beat and an uplifting melody, but much like most of this game, they were experimenting, and this was the result. Oof. The rest of the music in Kisha de Go was written by Hiroaki Shibata of Access, and he did a good job. For example, there was no need to go all out on the Run Complete jingle. A full 15 seconds of build-up and crescendo, blimey. The title screen greets us with one of several photos of steam trains, and this is the second game to feature a woman's voice announcing the title.
Kisha de Go!
Again, viewers, have you already spotted another localization issue? All rig hits are indeed reserved. Left to its own devices, the game will run through the high score tables and some in-game demo footage. Jumping into the main menu, we are faced with the platform information style menu. The Material Hall of Train sees a return to form with a selection of photos, 3D models of trains as seen in-game, FMV unlocked through no continue runs, and music, voice and sound effects. This time there are a lot of unlockables. The photo floor is divided into sections. At the top we have the SL, Steam Locomotive, Ban Etsu Monogatari, or the story of steam on the Ban Etsu. This allows you to look at pictures representing points of interest along the line, as well as a little history. This is complete at the start of the game. The two sections of the Ban Etsu West Line each get a photo gallery, and both have a large number of unlockable images. Once again, you can choose to have a little caption for each image, or see these digitized photos in their unfettered glory. Next is the gallery for the Shinetsu line, another with a large amount of unlockable content. You can see some classic trains from earlier games in the series here too. There is a section for the Kahin Tohoku line, which is very unusual as steam trains don't run on there, but we get a lovely set of photos of Kahin line trains, old and new. Finally, there is a collection called the Steam Locomotive Picture Book, which is a collection of exclusively steam train images. Again, there are a lot of photos to unlock. Next up is the 3D model floor, last seen in Taito de Go Professional. These follow the same breakdown into lines as seen on the photo floor. There are some cracking looking train models. On first boot though, only a few are available. Next up is the movie floor. 7 FMVs are available in total, with 2 unlocked at the start and the other 5 through completing no continue runs. At the start we have the FMV intro and the FMV intro without any of the text or graphics overlaid. Finally, there is the music floor with the standard in-game music voice samples and sound effects. One interesting development is the assortment of Taito de Go announcers. Have a listen and pop your favourite manic voice sample in the comments below.
Kisha de Go! Kisha de Go! Kisha de Go!
Kisha de Go! Kisha de Go! Kisha de Go! Kisha de Go!
And that's us done for the Material Hall of Train. Let's dive into the options. First up is the control scheme. This is very important, so listen up. There are 2 control schemes when using a standard controller: Taito de Go control or steam train control. The Taito controls are the same as always. D-pad up and down control the throttle, while square and X are the brakes. It is important to note that the buttons are opposite to traditional Taito de Go braking schemes. In this game, X increases the braking pressure while square reduces it. All 4 shoulder buttons are in use this time, with L1 used to change viewing angle, L2 for sanding, R2 is for drain, and R1 is for the whistle. Now, this is the default setting for the game, which suggests to me that this is how Access/Taito wanted you to play. Otherwise, they would have started with the steam train control and given you the option to change it after giving it a go. But no, and if you're like me, you'll try the steam control, balk at it, wonder how on earth anyone could play with such an awkward control method and instantly switch back to Dengo mode. Then you'll spend hours learning the game, striving to complete every run without using a continue, only to discover that the unlockable photos, movies and 3D models found in the Material Hall of Train only unlock if you're playing with the SL control mode. So you'll jump back in, complete a couple of runs and question your life choices. To be fair, this rule is mentioned in the manual, I just didn't see it. But what is SL control and how does it differ from the standard Kisha de Go control scheme? Well, there's an additional control element thrown in the mix, the reverse lever. For the sake of ease, this is analogous to gears in a car, kind of. In reality, it controls the timing and the amount of steam brought into the piston that drives the wheels. At low speeds, the timings are slower and the amount of steam brought in is higher, generating the thrust needed to turn the wheels. As the train speeds up, the timings are increased and the amount of steam brought in is decreased to facilitate the wheels moving at high speed. The reverse lever is controlled with the up and down buttons on the D-pad, which is really confusing as you expect these buttons to be dominant in getting the train moving. The throttle has been replaced by the regulator lever, controlled by triangle and circle, and has 6 stages from 0 to 5. Combining the reverser and regulator allows finer control of the engine, but does take some getting used to. Braking is still controlled with the square and cross, but rather than operate in steps as with previous games, X opens the brake valve and square closes the valve. The longer you press these buttons for, the faster the valve will open. This is an unbelievable pain in the rear. To apply brakes for a short time, you need to open the valve, wait for the required amount of pressure to be applied, swing the brake lever to the middle position until you're near the required speed, then shift the lever all the way to the left to release the pressure on the brakes. Finally, return the brake lever to its neutral position. All the while you have to reset your reverse lever and deactivate the regulator lever. Can you think of any possible issues with this? I'm sure you can. Most obviously, it's going to make minute changes to your speed very hard to pull off. It will also make adapting to sudden speed limits also fairly tricky. And, of course, it makes stopping in a station really fiddly. It's a significant departure from the established way to play Kisha de Go, and for this reason, Kisha de Go is viewed as the black sheep of the series. Fortunately, using the original Kisha de Go Mascon makes the game much easier, and using it on no continue runs will still unlock extras in the material hall of train. For the sake of your sanity, I highly recommend using the Mascon. The other options are the same as previous entries: control scheme at the top, then difficulty, rumble strength, sound channels, speedometer style, and distance gauge style at the bottom. Between options and saving we have rankings, which makes little sense for a home release. I imagine there aren't many households full of competitive Dengo players, so these are fairly redundant. The load and save menu offers, unsurprisingly, the ability to load and save. There is neither auto load nor auto save. What there is, however, is pocket station functionality. But before you get all excited thinking there is a minigame as seen in Kisha de Go Nagoya Tetsudo Hen, it's nothing like that. Essentially, it simply allows you to exchange the photos, movies and models you have unlocked with other pocket station owners. That's it. Trading save files via infrared LED. I mentioned the control scheme earlier, but I think it might be time to talk through exactly how that works. Let's hop over to the tutorial stage. Here we are dropped into the engineer's cab of the C57180 to familiarise ourselves with the suggested SL control scheme.
これから SL の操作の説明をします。私が汽車の操作を説明します。
As always, Tetsu-chan is on hand to guide us through our first tentative steps into the world of valves, reverse levers and regulator levers.
ブレーキの空気を
We press square to release the braking pressure, then apply the throttle with the control lever.
入れてください。
As the train picks up speed, Tetsu will instruct you to shift your reverser to 60. Usually every 20 km per hour a shift is required. While awkward, this control scheme does allow for a higher level of precision speed management. By manipulating the reverser and control lever, you can cruise accurately at almost any speed you'd like. Whenever you wish to coast your train, you have to set the reverser back down to 80, otherwise your train will begin to lose speed. If you feel like topping up your speed, you must increase the reverser and your regulator lever based on the speed you are cruising. Activating the throttle while doing 60 with the reverser set to 80 will have no effect, so tap it down to 20. It's a far cry from the stop and go I have become accustomed to in other Kisha de Go games. Here, Tetsu-chan is warning us of the need to sand the track. There are times when traction is reduced and your wheels can start slipping. This can be ruinous, and your train, for some reason, will grind to a complete halt as if the emergency brake has been pulled, when, in real life, it would still have the momentum accrued by several tons of steel, water and oil to push it forwards. Tapping L2 will sprinkle some sand on the track and your traction woes will be gone. Now, outside of the tutorial, I had this happen exactly once. In fact, it is so rare, I had forgotten it was even a thing, and was very puzzled when I heard a squeak and my train came to an abrupt stop. The station approach section of the tutorial is, as usual, particularly disingenuous in how everything stops while you position your lever, when in reality, that movement time is really important and has to be taken into account. It takes a couple of seconds to swing the brake lever all the way before the braking pressure even starts to increase. If you want to apply a decent amount of braking pressure at 2 kilometers from the station, for example, you'll have to anticipate and get that lever moving a lot earlier. You can double tap X, but this will maximize the braking pressure and activate the emergency brake. Avoid this. Sometimes you can double tap square after the cross double tap to prevent activating the e-brake. The tutorial fails to mention the function of the drain button. This is a button that lets you shoot out some steam. In real life, this is a safety feature that ejects condensation buildup in the piston from warm steam meeting cold air and metal. It's possible that when the piston compresses, if the lovely soft steam has been replaced with dense water, the piston could go bang. That is the very short version. I'm no expert on steam locomotion, I just did a lot of research so I could better understand what the heck is going on in this game. But in Kisha de Go, the steam button has one purpose: winning you bonus time. When you initially set off from a station, give it a little toot and you'll bag a 2-second bonus. This works for almost every station in the game. See those funny little fellas trackside with their cameras and brightly coloured anoraks? They are train enthusiasts who would love nothing more than to see a puff of steam erupt from your train as it goes past. Time it right and you'll get a second. Thing is, besides the Kahin Tohoku route, these sprites are every 100 feet or so. That may be a bit facetious, but there sure are a lot of them. You can rack up a decent amount of bonus time, which you'll need to mitigate the awkward braking system and the incredible reluctance of the locomotive to come to a stop. I am aware this is sounding negative, very negative. I want to appreciate the control scheme, but it's just a huge pain using the standard PlayStation controller. Playing with the Dengo control scheme or the Mascon controller is the only way to go for this installment. There are pros and cons for all methods. SL mode gives better control of the engine, unlocks hidden goodies in the material haul mode, but driving is hard and unintuitive. The Mascon controller makes driving a little bit easier. It also allows for unlocking of material haul content, but the ability to drain is missing, which locks you out of gaining a significant amount of bonus time. Dengo mode is the easiest and builds upon what players of this series expect, but prevents the unlocking of bonus materials. So yeah, I think that just about does the main menu and the like. Let's have a look at some runs then. Let's start with what I think is the most interesting timetable, the Kahin Tohoku and the C58-363. It's a level 1 difficulty route with 4 stops between Shinagawa and Ueno. There is also a level 2 run driving the C57-180 on the same track. you'll be running your sexagenarian choo-choo alongside the modern Yamanote Line 205 series trains, and spotting Shinkansen roaring past you. There are very few train spotters on this route, so you won't be able to gather too many extra points. On the other hand, it is an easy route with lots of pass-through stations to let you know if you're going too fast or not. There are only 4 station stops at Tamachi, Tokyo, Akihabara and Ueno. The train arrival animation is pretty impressive, with large plumes of smoke from the chimney and the pistons and reverser working in unison. At some of the stations there are signs that read Kisha de Go. Fun fact, we'll pass through Shimbashi on this route. Many moons ago, Shimbashi Station was the terminus for steam trains running between Tokyo and Yokohama. To commemorate 100 years of the line, a C11 steam train was placed outside the station in 1972. These days, it is a very popular meeting place if you're in that part of Tokyo. Meeting someone there is a good idea until you realise that about 2,000 people had the same idea on a Friday night. You'll notice that the cabin takes up a lot of the screen, meaning that a lot of the lovely trackside scenery and skybox are mostly obscured. Switching to the external view with L1 improves the view slightly, but the tank is still occupying a good third of the screen. Switching between views causes the volume of the engine to change and adds a little authenticity. The final stretch of this route sees cherry blossom flutter down. It's a nice touch and very Japanese. I cannot stress this enough. A steam locomotive rolling through Tokyo on a bright spring day while cherry blossoms flutter to the ground is almost enough to give a middle-aged salaryman apoplexy. Throw in an Enka singer holding a print of Hokusai's The Great Wave and you'll have a body count in the dozens. The devs know their audience. One thing I would say is, why not make this the goal? Hide this route behind the more generic countryside runs of the Banetsu and Shinetsu lines. Make this the 5-star difficulty. Make us earn the cherry blossom and the prestige of steam locomotion in metropolitan Tokyo. We've finished our run, and we get a performance ranking which evaluates our accuracy to the timetable, our braking and ride comfort, our stop position accuracy, our obedience to traffic signals, and use of steam. I'll repeat that last one. You're rated on your use of steam. I have no idea what this means and what counts as good or bad steam usage. I've never seen it say anything other than what is currently on screen. Weird. If we played with the SL control scheme or Mascon, we would get a nice FMV before the credits start rolling, and we get some music that starts exactly the same as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme. Which for me is infuriating, as I would bloomin' love to hear that over the credits. After the credits, you'll have your chance at popping your name on the ranking board for that run. And if you took the coward's way and played with the Dengo control scheme, you're met with this screen, which reads, "Congratulations, have fun playing with the steam train controls too." For those playing like steam is in their veins, you'll get a screen that looks like this. The final route in the game has you driving the steam locomotive Bandai Aizu train in the rain. This is a maximum difficulty special timetable. You can see here we start at Koriyama and it is belting down. The effect of rain on stopping is not too noticeable, certainly not after playing the snow route. Just be ready with that braking lever a little earlier. The Bandai Aizu routes feature a new type of bonus stage after stopping at Nakayama Juku Station. In this game you're tasked with driving a train backwards in a switchback. The train is driven in reverse from a station and over a set of points in a track which are then switched so the train can carry on its route. It's tricky in that you have a long way to go, a short stopping point, and a tight time limit. The rest of the route is quite fun in that the weather gradually turns out nice again with each leg of the run. The rain goes away and the sky begins to lighten until you're cruising along in glorious sunshine. On the rapid steam locomotive Usui route, we are treated to a dusky autumnal drive. When pulling into Yokokawa Station, you have a chance at the classic linking bonus game. Connect your EF63 to the waiting carriages. Both of these bonus games award good performance, both in additional waiting time and in pictures of delicious bentos and oden. The final stretch of this run is a gauntlet of tunnels that lasts 8 minutes. Really fun to cruise along, but absolutely heartbreaking if you stack the station stop and have to start all over again. There's a really nice graphical effect on this one that causes a colour change to trackside objects based on how far away they are. Distant objects take on an orange fogginess before gradually returning to their original colours. What else is there to say? The game looks good, especially the external views of the trains, which are packed with detail and animation. I like the way that some of the anoraks are slightly hidden, squatting behind bushes. I have to say, I like the idea of driving a steam train far more than the actual practice. I really like the idea of an arcade machine based on this game, with all the correct levers, but I can imagine that would have been prohibitively expensive, but far more enjoyable. The SL control mode seems to offer a degree of control largely unneeded. The purpose of the master controller in modern trains is to get to speed before coasting. In most respects, it is digital, either on or off. Having the means to select a gear while adjusting the amount of power is almost purposeless in an arcade train sim. A braking system with such additional finesse would be far more welcome, particularly in this installment with its delayed and reactive braking. There's a strange bug in the game that allows you to absolutely launch off the starting point like it's Mario Kart. While waiting to depart the station, set the reverser to 40. When the pilot light comes on, release the brake and set the regulator to 3. Hold on to something. This is really handy if you're running a little late from the previous station, or you can't be asked to wait 2 minutes for the train to get up to full speed. For me, the very best thing about this game is just having your engine chugging along. It's relaxing with its predictable rhythmic piston noise. Just cruising the countryside, sounding your whistle at railroad crossings and blowing steam at trackside rail fans. The station stops become an inconvenience to the sedate, meditative state induced between accelerating and stopping. This is a Dengo game that would really benefit from a free run mode, as last seen in Denshi de Go Nagoya. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the 2-player mode. Basically, player 2 can shovel coal into the engine. This is where the aforementioned use of Steam success criteria comes into effect. That's it. Later games would see inventive ways to incorporate an additional player, but for now, being a stoker will have to suffice. It's that time again, folks. Where are we going to put this in our tier list? This is quite the conundrum. The three control methods all present a different game experience. If the SL mode was not requisite to unlocking the bonus materials, I'd happily put this in the B camp. Maybe even an A? Also, I've absolutely slammed games for lacking content, and with 3 trains and 4 routes, Kisha de Go should also be excoriated. Playing the game as it was meant to be played is a very difficult task, and stopping the train is hard in a whole new way. C? Is it fair to put this full-fledged console outing alongside the likes of handhelds? Yep, seems it is. And that's it for PlayStation. There have been 5 entries in the Denshi to Go series on the original PlayStation, the de facto home of Taito's arcade train sims. Looking back at its humble beginnings with the port of the original arcade game, it's hard not to be impressed with how far the series has come. We started with 4 trains on 4 lines and ended with 3 trains on 4 lines. Okay, forget about that bit. Just think about how chock full Nagoya and Professional are, and how beautiful. Graphically, it's light years ahead. We have one more port of Denshi to Go 2 before we see the start of the next generation of Denshi to Go. So join me next time for Denshi to Go 2 on the Game Boy Color. Yes, in 2000, almost 3 years after the arcade game came out, we're getting the 5th and final port. Bye for now, I'll see you at the next station.